The following is intended for mature audiences only. May contain strong language, crude humor, adult themes, and suggestive material.
Before we relax into Shavasana, we will perform one final transition. If this move causes you any discomfort, feel free to rest in child's pose. Step back on your mat. To begin Eagle Pose, we will wrap one arm around the other. Then, slowly sink into chair pose, gently bending your knees. Take your right foot and slowly place it behind your opposite leg. Make sure to hook your toe behind your knee so you have no way of escape. Slowly bend forward, making sure to tighten your abdominal wall. Your spine should be stretched like a rubber band, waiting to snap. There we go. You've now reached the point of no return. You might be feeling a certain amount of animal panic. Your heart racing, beads of sweat running down your face. This is all normal. Darkness comes for us all. Relax as you feel your spine begin to disintegrate. You've completed Eagle Pose. You may sink into a restful Shavasana. Close your eyes, drift away, and namaste.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, I'm Jake Bradbury.
And I'm Will Blank.
And we are 20th Century Fox, a film collective that produced 16 short films. And for each film, we made a behind-the-scenes podcast. Today's podcast has director of photography Alejandro Wilkins. And it's a quick one about the reality of pushing yourself to do something creative and what it's like working as a team when people aren't feeling on their A game. We learn it's important to power through those days to still produce something fun that we all look back and laugh at. We also discuss sound design and concepts that make people cringe.
All right, let's go.
Hey everybody, we're back with another podcast for this time.
Hey, 20th Century Fox.
20th Century Fox, we finally named ourselves, and this one's called Eat, Pray, Love. You're talking with today Jake Bradbury, who directed the piece, and...
Will Blank, who also directed the piece.
Alejandro, I shot this piece.
Very good.
Great. Oh, you know what? I realized we should probably have Ambar for this, but it's too late now. We're doing it.
It's too late.
Hi, I'm Ambar.
Perfect.
Oh, here she is. She showed up.
Thanks, guys.
That's amazing.
Thanks for waiting for me.
Okay, so how do we come up with this one?
Well, for the longest time, this was called Yoga.
Yeah.
And then we finally found a proper title for it. Did
I
you come
think
up with a title?
that might have been you?
Me?
I just feel like you
Probably.
come up with all
I just
the good
come up with the titles.
But
You Pray, Love, man.
You
How
Pray Love,
perfect.
really funny. Yeah, we were, this day, we were fried, all of us, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
None of us wanted to fucking do this.
No.
What?
Okay, no, you're right. You were particularly fried.
Yeah.
I think everyone was fried, you're right. But
Yes.
you were also like, it's yoga. I don't want to do this
Yes.
shit.
Why was I so fried? Just
I
a
don't
bad
know,
day,
man.
or
What have you
tired
been-
on the
what have you
weekend,
been
or
up
I
what?
don't know, man. And you also were like, I don't know how to do yoga, man. This is yoga stuff.
There was some other ideas floating around too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was just, I agree. I think it was one of those days where we were just not feeling it as much as the other days.
And there's something to be said for that, like, to do it anyway. I think
Yep.
we were all a little snippy with each other, too.
Yeah.
And, like,
Well, it
we
was
were
getting
all-
later in the day,
Mhm.
I think, as well.
we had to come up.
We had to come up with something really quick.
Right.
And the basic idea, actually, I
It
feel like you
shows,
came up
too.
with the yoga one. I think you were the one that said.
I think I had gone to Bikram or something.
Yeah.
And realized how if you fall in some of these positions, you could really hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I think we always start with what happened to you this week.
Yep.
And then you were like, yoga. And then it started to get from that. What I remember is feeling the vibe of the place already, like before we even started, and everyone was like, and I was like, you know what? We got to have something else besides just the yoga. So that whole ending part, and I was like, I'm gonna peace out. I'm gonna go and get all the props we need for the detective at the end. I know a place that's open on a Sunday. And then when I get back, by the time I get back, they're totally going to be done with like the whole segment. And I got back and they hadn't done a single shot.
Dude,
yet.
it was a lazy like, Sunday or whatever day we worked on this.
Barely got anything done.
Oh, you know what it was? I think it was I had gotten high. I had gotten high and I was still learning that doesn't help me come up with ideas or want to do anything at all. I was fucking blasted still, and I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to lie around and rest, and that's what the problem was.
The funniest thing is that both
coming from you.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, I don't want to do this.
Both Alejandro and I have done yoga for years. I think, Will, you're the only one who hasn't done yoga for years.
Yeah, how did I become the guy? I don't know.
We had to research this shit to try to show you. Well, that's why the instruction is still backwards.
The what?
The instruction, or I don't understand. You were just saying that it's because he didn't follow it correctly?
Oh, no, I just made that up.
Oh, because every time I watch it, I'm like, she says right over left or something, or left over right.
No, she says right over left.
Mm-hmm.
He does the opposite of what she says.
No, I do right over left.
And she says left over right. I'm telling you.
No, she says right over left.
You got to watch it again.
We'll watch it again.
We'll watch it again. But regardless, if he does the opposite, then that's why he broke his back. He did not listen to instructions. If he does it the right way, then the position is just very hard.
So, all right. So, this was one that we sat on the edit for a really long time. Because the idea was simple, and we were happy it was simple, trying to do a yoga pose, fucking up, and dying because of it.
Fucking up so badly that a detective thinks it's a brutal murder scene.
Yeah. I
hope that people got that.
What was the line? Like the cartels are at it
Well,
again
we originally were like, okay, we want it to be that I tied my body into so many knots, or so how do you phrase it? It's such an impossible way that it had to have been a hit job by the Mexican cartels, and that the cop there was supposed to be an APB before we see the cop that announces that there was a particularly brutal cartel murder.
This one's pretty bad.
And we ended up having to cut that because everyone that I played it for was like, wait, what?
Yeah, what's that?
It was just too big of a leap for them.
I didn't see that cut.
You didn't?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay, well... we simplified and just had the cop show up, and that was enough to communicate. Oh my god, it's fucking horrible.
This was my favorite part that I got to play.
That saved it.
In the entire run of the entire thing. I loved playing a hard-boiled cop, and I went to this like Halloween store, and I picked up this like special police badge, and I wore like all my best clothes and a tie, and I love the idea of being that character so much that I got through the first one and I felt really good about it. And you guys were like, yeah, it was great. It was gnarly. And then I couldn't stop smiling because I was having such a good time. But I really love the fact that it's like, it's so brutal. He like looks up and he's like, God damn it.
Yeah,
he's
world.
It's
and the Law and Order.
Absurd. Well, then the Law and Order Q frames it as a cold open.
Yeah,
which we were actually contemplating putting the entire Law and Order theme song at the end to run through the whole credits.
The whole credit. Just make people sit through the credits.
Yeah, just make people sit through the credits of Law and Order, thinking there was going to be a joke beyond that, but really it would just be a cold open.
I still think
another good title would have been something like Law and Order Venice Beach or something like that, like Unit or something. Just because that was what saved it for me, is that ending, because the whole thing on its own just didn't really come together.
Because it was too simple of an idea.
Yeah.
Right? It was like just a little too simple.
But the idea of it being a cold open, which is so ridiculous, it's feel like maybe one of these shows might go that far just because they're running out of ideas.
I bet an NCIS has done something similar.
Probably.
Yeah, where a murder looked one way, but it was actually like something really innocent or a stupid mistake or something like that.
It's a CSI Bali.
Right.
Yeah. So when we shot this, we didn't have a super... I thought I had a clear sense of the coverage we were getting, but then we didn't. What we failed to do was run through the action in every single shot, like start to finish. Like instead we tried to do piecemeal sections of it. So in this part my foot is like wiggling around, but there should have been a through line to all of the coverage where you
just done the same movement every
and done the same movement every single time. Because in the editing room I found myself getting really hamstrung because I didn't have any coverage. Yeah. So half of that footage is like flipped, reversed, sped up, like anything to make it seem like there was more. Like we did the back, for instance, we did the back bending over shot, and it was cracking and stuff, but we never did me struggling and dying in the back shot. Does that make sense? That side shot.
Yeah.
So I never had that, so I had to manufacture it.
But I think a lot of that day was, a lot of things were affecting that day. It wasn't either none of us were connected with the material very much that day. Most of us were more connected with, let's just get this done. And there's other things going on in our life. And I think it's really important to realize that that's going to happen, and we still have to figure out how to get something out of it. And I guess we did, but looking back on it, I feel like we didn't do it justice. We probably should have scrapped the idea and done something that we actually cared about or felt stronger about. Because I think that's why you didn't get the coverage that you didn't want, because we were essentially just doing it to get the practice done.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but also on the day I did get excited about it. I did think like, oh yeah, this could be really dark. It could be really like, weird and kind of twisted. But I don't think it ever matched what I was thinking in my head.
The concept.
I don't think it ever quite got there.
Maybe that's where, if the links don't happen, because at the end, when we shot the end scenes, there was 2 shots. And those felt really good. Yeah, you automatically
Noah, coming connect with those in the middle of the podcast with some library books.
You want to play ball with those shots in a sense, like you want to give it whatever you got.
Yeah.
With the other ones where they weren't connecting, I remember feeling myself like, look, if we were going to do this right, if we're going to get the angles right, if we're going to get all the proper, it's going to take more time, it's going to take more lighting, more of this. So you start compromising, and maybe there's a formula, like if the compromises are overwhelming the creative, then you should change the creative. Because I felt like in this case, like we could have gave more to the creative, but we didn't want to, or at least on my end.
I do think this was a day where we all just wanted to get through
I gave it to the last couple of shots because I was more interested in those shots.
So. Well, that's the thing to think about. If we want to do something like this, another cold open again, we take it all the way, because it was more about the yoga and less about the cold open idea. So then we should take the other idea further. I don't know.
But that came afterwards, right? So if we had developed it a little further, maybe we would have just gone straight into like, oh, well, let's just make a cold open dealing with the dead yoga person.
I think that was after the fact. It was sort of an afterthought rather than the focus of it.
So do you think it was we just took the baby out of the incubator too soon?
I think that it was a case of we all didn't really feel it that day, and we just wanted to do something. And you know what? There is value in doing it anyway.
I mean, we're also talking about this like it's fucking unwatchable or something.
No, it's not unwatchable.
No. A lot of people really like this one.
Yeah, but this is our own critique. Gotcha. Okay. Some people might watch it and think, well, why did they continue to use that same angle for the back bend or something like that? Like that doesn't show a back breaking. The best. We didn't even see the spine. Something like that. There's a lot of...
We didn't see the spine coming out of his back.
But it was... those were the kinds of things that I would say. It's like, okay, well, if we know that we're going to have cracking of the back, well, let's see the actual spine maybe or something like that.
We needed to more granularly plan out. To make it interesting, to make it full, to make the coverage match the idea, we would have really had to game out what are the steps of this breakdown of this body, and we didn't do that. And so... sound design carried it a lot. Futzing with the footage carried it a lot.
I think seeing his his body at the end, like, but going all the way with it, where it's almost After Effects or something, where his leg is impossibly over his head or something, would have really sold the idea.
That was another thing.
At the end.
You couldn't actually get the pose, right? Like, we couldn't actually get you in the fucking...
we're blowing you up right now. Well,
I don't remember that part. I'm really flexible and
couldn't
strong.
actually hold the pose for very long without yelling at us.
No, but see, that was something that I didn't realize either. It's like, dude, people... It's difficult to hold these poses.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay,
know?
yes.
Like,
that was difficult, doing it over and over again in each thing, and like having to stand on one foot for that long, having to bend over and over again. Wrap my legs. It was, that was hard. I do remember that. And I was getting actually physically tired when I had to go into chair pose, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm like bending my knee.
You were doing yoga, for real.
On one leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard.
And for whatever reason, that didn't cross my mind at all. Of like, we're gonna have to
Dude,
have
like,
him
just
in
do
this
it.
fucking pretzel pose for a while.
But it is impressive that I think this one was really made in the editing room. So I just want to say shout out to Will to making it work.
Thank you.
No matter what. And the sound design, it really sold it. If you guys want to bring
Saved
that
it.
character back, though, I'm down to play him anytime, please. So if we want to
should
write a whole
totally
thing.
bring that character.
If we want to write a whole thing about a hard-boiled detective
What if he
who's
just
fed up with the world.
sees a bunch of horrible shit, but he never actually does anything
Right.
about it? He's
It's
just
like,
always
please.
just seeing how bad
Please,
stuff
sir,
is. And
please save my child. And you're just like, oh, God, this world.
This world.
Or was it fake detective? Like, he sees caution tape, so he walks up to it and he starts bossing people around.
Sir, can you please...
Here he is again. How did he find us? It's on our 911 Twitter page. Everybody knows where we are these days.
911 Twitter page. That's a funny concept.
Have you seen those?
That's real?
Yeah, well, when I was living in Venice, I think, and like you'd see the whirlybirds going around, and there was like you could go on Twitter and be like 911 Venice, and immediate updates of what's going on. Somebody shot somebody in the neighborhood and is running around, and they'd give the address, and it's like, this is right outside my window.
Oh, shit. Christ.
Yeah. So,
all right. That's not, you heard it here first,
There's
folks,
some
or I heard it
serious
here
Yes.
first.
911 Twitter.
911 Twitter is a real thing.
Well, I mean, if you look on, it's not official. These are just people
I
with
see people
like
just
police
reporting
scanners.
it.
I believe.
That's
with
what
a
it's
Twitter
like.
account.
It's like Waze for
Local-
crime.
Yeah, it's like local. Exactly.
Yeah, well, back to the short.
Yeah.
The sound design.
Oh yeah, the sound
This
design.
is MOS. It's important for people to know.
Oh yeah, none of the sound was there because we didn't record sound on this one.
There was no sound. That was our part of our extension of our laziness.
Yes.
Was not wanting to
That
deal with
is
a boom
true.
pole. We didn't want to pull out something that would take quite literally 3 minutes to set up
Where
for the
in
whole time.
The
And-
timeline was this one. Was it? It was close to the last ones that we did. Right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like the
fairly.
third or fourth to the last one, I think.
I remember at one point, like everybody being fed up, and then like I'm just in the back not saying anything, and Will turns to me and is like, "Are you gonna say anything?" And I'm like, "Nope."
For what? What do you?
Just about the whole piece and about the direction of the piece. It was just like,
yeah, we were
it
so
was
defeated.
Such a frustrating
frustrating
day.
Yeah, yeah. And
So it's important to know about
though.
those days,
it's so
too.
important that every time we made it through.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it was watchable. You know,
Yeah,
there's only
agree.
one piece that didn't work out, which I think we should do a special bonus podcast about, which is one that we shot and we couldn't
Didn't
salvage
work,
it.
yeah.
Was it the? Oh, you're talking
The
about
future
a whole. I
one.
thought you were talking about the shot where you fall out of frame and it looks like the image freezes.
I
Is
knew
that-
you just had to bring that up.
So Alejandro said that maybe
Alejandro
a dozen
won't
times?
ever
Maybe
stop telling me
24 times?
that
It's
he
like,
thinks
watch
it
when
looks like the footage
Will
freezes
falls out of
it
frame.
when I fall out of frame. And it
looks
does
like
not.
It freezes.
It is a repetition of like 5 frames over and over again, which means it has noise.
You manipulated the frame.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, okay. So
But it has noise. It has when you can't just so if you're trying to do a still frame but pass it off as footage, you can't you can't just do a picture of it and insert it into the timeline. You need to add noise to it, which is just how do you describe noise?
It makes it look alive.
It's like a grain or something.
It's like some film kind grain, of essentially.
Texture oscillating throughout the image.
And every image has a different texture to it, even on a digital camera. And so you have to, in order for me to get grain into the picture, I just repeated a half second of footage or forward. It's called rock and rolling, where you play it forward, then you play it backwards, then you play it forward, then you play it backwards. And I did it as long as I wanted to stretch out to Ambar's length of time.
But I wasn't wrong in the fact that you manipulated that image. I thought what you were saying was that, no, it's just you fall out of frame and then the image goes soft. But it was an actual freeze.
Yeah, well, it's not a freeze. It's the footage playing forwards and
5
backwards.
5 seconds of loop.
Oh.
But
tell me about directing Ambar for the voiceover
and then Ambar did the voiceover of the woman. Actually, you talk about the writing of that's like a huge backbone to the piece is the voiceover, which I don't know if we were guaranteed going to have that. We talked about it, but
we thought it was just going to be pleasant music, and then we thought that it would be better if he was listening to some sort of tape that was teaching him how to do yoga and kind of being ominous. I think I wrote that, right?
And I think you wrote it, and your writing was so funny to me.
Yeah,
and it hit all the right notes, and I think the urge on everyone's side was to make her sinister, make her seem like she's menacing.
It does kind of sound that way,
and she is, because that's what the dialogue, how it's written, that's the direction it sends you. But you were really adamant that she not deliver any emotion. There'd be no treatment on her voice besides the normal treatment that's there, and just let her say the words. Because then it becomes she becomes less of a character, frankly, because she shouldn't be a character. She's not. And it becomes more a reflection of my mental state.
Correct.
That how I'm hearing the things that she's saying is as if she's asking me to tie myself into a knot.
Yeah.
And that's a subtle difference that is better to me and more nuanced than doing it where she's just like this evil voice. Because then you're like, well, why in this universe is there this evil voice? That's
it could have then cut to somebody arresting this woman who's making tapes to put people in pretzels and kill themselves.
I mean, that's true.
That's true.
We could have
that's
done
funny.
that. But and that would have been an extension.
In this.
Yeah, that would have been an extension of her voice her being an actual character versus this one where we back her off.
Yeah.
And
I just like that she was just talking.
Yeah.
Just part of the tape.
How did you come up with the dialogue, or what was your...
Oh, I don't know. I've heard a million of these like guided meditation things, and it just came out. And I thought it would be funny if I wrote like when he starts to sweat and is in this pretzel, that whatever he's thinking is he sort of hears her voice as a reflection of what he's thinking. So it's less about, and then you kind of at the end you hear that it goes back to a restful shavasana, or what is it?
Yeah, that's it.
And then he like kind of pops back out of it when he collapses, and you hear that she wasn't really saying those things anyway. It just goes back to normal.
And fun fact, Shavasana means corpse pose.
Huh?
Anybody?
Corpse pose.
Corpse
Funny.
pose. I died. Corpse.
Corpse pose. What I like about these two, as a general note, is that a lot of people like a lot of different ones. Like their favorite ones are never the ones I think that are my favorite. I've had they're never the same ones. Like people like all different kinds of ones.
What was the response to this one?
I think some people really like it. I think some people really like it.
I think it's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually what's interesting is people seem to catch on really quick. Once they start hearing Ambar's voiceovers sort of veer into the weird or negative, they start smiling, and I can see people relating to it when they're watching it. That, sometimes you do some shit in yoga and you're just like, uh-oh, this is hard.
Shouldn't have done that.
I can't hold this for very long. Yeah. And so it's highly relatable. And I like that a lot. I don't know. I don't really know where it ranks.
Yeah, I don't know where it ranks either.
But
if I was to rank this, it would be pretty close to, it's not my favorite.
It's execution for me. Like, I feel like I didn't execute from a lensing standpoint.
Oh yeah, it's Alejandro's fault.
I definitely blame.
No, I didn't say faults or anything. I was just saying from execution from that standpoint could have been more
could have
deliberate.
done a better job, right?
Yeah, more deliberate. I think you can. It felt a little sloppy to me. But as far as story goes and it coming all together, the good thing about cinematography a lot of times is that if the story is good enough or relatable enough, things like that, you can not be on your A game and still be covered, I think.
I don't think there's a real like story going on in this one but here's what I think is really satisfying is that when things start falling apart and my body starts breaking and everything, I watch people cringe and get very invested in what's happening with the character, my character, and that's really good. It's actually dark. It's so dark. That's like, it goes a little bit out of the cuteness of like, oh, he's doing yoga bad, and it starts being like, oh, this is actually kind of claustrophobic and uncomfortable because the sound design sort of tries to overwhelm you, and is gross, and it makes people cringe, and I like that. It's engagement.
What was the most important thing then? Is it that? Because say, for instance, this was not as our best effort in production, but still you connected with the audience. Does that make it?
I'm sure that happens all the time.
But is that the best thing for you? Is the audience reaction? Ultimately, are you or are you looking to be satisfied yourself with the work?
Who are you asking?
Both of you.
I mean, I was relieved. I was relieved when people would engage with it. So I'm going
does
through.
That tell you, hey, all we need is to make sure that it connects with the audience, and we're safe? Or did you learn something from this in that sense?
Yeah, not to get high.
I didn't. I think I'm just thinking about it differently because I've got my taste when I'm working with something, right? Like I'm cutting and making choices, and I'm doing sound design based off of choices and feelings I want to feel when I watch it. And I guess I hope that it'll connect with people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hope that it will. But I'm just doing it to my specification and Jake's specification because he also watches and gives notes and like helps shape it too. You know what I'm saying? So it has to sort of meet his specifications. We're co-directing it. And
I think it's always about pleasing myself first because I'm the first audience. You know?
I mean, I gotta, because here's the thing, when I start to make choices or changes that are just for some external person, then I lose interest in it. It just,
what is that?
I actually just lose interest.
The majority of people like this, so I'm gonna do this choice. It's like, no, I want to do stuff that I really enjoy, that I'm proud of putting out there, and then if people connect with it, good. If they don't, okay.
And it also makes it hard.
What if you didn't connect with this, right? And you shelved it, but it actually, say for instance, for whatever reason, this one goes viral and gets a bazillion views, and you're like, what? How that? We almost shelved it because we didn't think it was our best work. Does that mean that like the principle is once you're in it and once you're going, you just don't stop?
That's been the philosophy on all of these, yes.
Because at one point, I mean, that was the philosophy, but I mean in general, because if you are not satisfied by it, or is there a way that you can be satisfied by all of your work, depending on how you look at it?
Oof. I'm not satisfied with all my work for sure.
But you still finish it.
Yes.
So
but sometimes we don't though, because we don't.
That's true.
When we did the 3001, we were just sort of like, I had shown that, so I actually really liked that one. That was the crazy thing. That was one where I was like, I'm so into this. I think it's so funny. And then we showed it to people, and nobody got it.
Oh, is that like the one that didn't go?
Yes.
Yeah, and nobody got it. And then they were just like, this is confusing. I don't get why it seems like it's the future, but then it's not the future. And like, I was able to do the calculus in my head, but nobody else was able to. And ultimately, that's what caused us to shelve it, was that, okay, the thing that I'm desperately wanting people to connect to and think is funny simply isn't happening.
Right.
It's
But
just
that
not
wasn't
happening.
for any like slacking off on your part. You guys executed the way you wanted to.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I think
I'm
our
assuming
laziness, there was laziness in not, well, there's laziness in that we didn't want to spend all the time to build a futuristic set
Right.
Okay.
for this video, which I hope we post at some point.
We will.
So that people can know what we're talking about. But, we didn't build a set to support the idea that it was 3001. We just used my apartment because we were just being lazy like all the other ones. And we just like...
We use some LED lights and
Yeah, we use some
somewhat
like LED
lazy. I mean,
lights.
you can't fucking. It'll take forever if
That's
you're actually.
I know,
Gonna, you got
but that's why the idea never fully
8 hours in a
worked.
day.
That's why it never worked. So, it was just
I think also you're starting to think, because of that piece that I just directed, you start thinking of how to simplify, and you get, maybe you think you're lazier, but I know that going through this, it's piling in the back of your head. I'm going to have to edit this. I'm going to have to sound design this.
Yeah.
So as they pile up in the back of your head, every time we would come over, it'd be like, so how's I don't know, the yoga one going or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm backed up. I'm not there yet. So I remember you saying like, can we please do one that's like a single shot? Yeah.
Or like what back and forth.
which
like,
became The Purge, right?
Yeah, basically.
Because
One of my
that worked
favorite
out.
ones.
Yeah, it worked out.
Just
yeah.
because it's so simple.
And
Going back to our roots.
it was
True.
the whole having to come up and manufacture from footage we didn't have, that was what made, I needed 2 days of concentrated editing, sifting, shaping what the idea of what it was supposed to be was going to be, deciding on that, and then making the footage conform to it, which was gut-wrenching and tedious. And, I can't remember why I was even telling that, but why was I telling that?
It's just
It had to do
tough.
with what you're saying.
Timing.
So I was getting backed up because sometimes you need 2 days to just sit with it, and it's so hard. So I don't know how much our laziness takes over though in the moment. Say, well, we don't want to do that. Although the thing we shot with you, the spinach one, I remember reading it and being like, holy shit, this is so many setups.
Yeah,
I was like, this is so many fucking setups.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of shit that requires like timing and placement of things.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was I didn't say anything because I'm like, what doesn't matter? Like, we're just going to shoot the thing. And that's part of
And I
that's a
learned
part of
as
it.
we're
It's part of it.
doing it, figured out real quick that it was
I want to go back to the original thing though about why we started doing all these things in the first place. Yes, they're fun, but also everyone's learning. I'm learning tons, and I also love it. I love, even when we're like all day like in a bad mood, I still love doing it. I remember turning to you guys on The Purge and just being like, I love this stuff. It was so fun.
No, yeah. I mean,
It's just so fun.
all of these, even the ones, I think the biggest ones as far as learning, it's almost like learning subconsciously, where the most important things that I got from these was follow through, was showing up even when I maybe didn't want to, had something else going on, wanted to go surfing, and I knew that you were game, and I knew if we showed up, we were going to get something out of it. And even the days that it didn't feel so like I don't know, we'd dick around for 2 hours, 3 hours until we came up with a concept, and then it was like, oh, now are we going to try to do this? And
That
we
moment's always the
still
hardest
figured it out,
moment.
and that was really important for me as far as learning. I mean,
Again, for me, it's the fun and it's the follow through
yeah,
for this one, and for all of them. It's the best part is that people are gonna like different ones, and it's always been our understanding of it. Even when we used to make shorts in college, people would always like different ones and ones that you don't expect. So this could be someone's absolute favorite for whatever reason. Could tickle their funny bone, and you would never see it coming, and they'd be like, this is the one that made me laugh on a really sad day. So that's what I'm happy about. Anyway, that was our podcast on Eat, Pray, Love.
You just done talking about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm done talking.
I mean, that was a pretty long one.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you guys ever read that book?
No. Oh, wait, no, I did. Yeah, I did. Maybe I just saw the movie.
That was the first time I heard. I'm not sure if it was Vipassana, but she goes to Vipassana or something like it. This long like meditation retreat. It was one of the first times I heard of it, and I was really intrigued by it. And eventually, and I wouldn't say it was because of that book, but it potentially was because of that book or led to something like that. Anyways, that's not part of the podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Boom. Later.
Peace.